Friends, it's T-Man. We are back with a new video. It's on Wolf coaching with Renaissance Periodization, Mike Israetel. They're doing a video together. The what I would call the gym lifting, recruiting, fitness gear slave himself, and Wolf coaching. Another one, another fake guru, but whatever. Only 1% understand this. Well, I'm the 1% that actually really understands it. The rest of them, they don't understand it. But I guess I'm going to have to educate these people on it.
Dr. Mike, you know a thing or two about building muscle. You also know a thing or two about what keeps you from growing muscle. So in this video, I want to interview you.
He knows a thing or two about growing muscle and what keeps you from growing muscle. I can tell you what keeps you from growing muscle. But he says he knows a thing or two about growing muscle. Mike takes steroids. He takes gears. He's admitted to it. See what I mean? What muscle has he gained? It's cosmetic. It's fake.
You would ask you about what the biggest muscle growth mistakes.
I know. It was because he ate broccoli, rice, and chicken, right? That's what built him. Everybody else is doing that. How come nobody else looks like that?
People are making are
doing that.
What's the biggest muscle growth mistake you see people making?
Amazing. Since you're...
You want to know the biggest mistakes that everybody's making? I'm about to tell it to you, but let him give his version, and then I'm going to give you the real version.
I can ask you follow-up technical questions. Would you like me to speak generally? Would you like me to focus on nutrition, training, recovery, or any one of those three?
Generally, and I want you to consider it in terms of prevalence and the magnitude of effect. So essentially multiplying those two.
Got it. The first thing that comes to mind is consistency. Many of the people that I've interacted
Nope. Consistency has nothing to do with it. But okay.
with that find muscle growth to be mysterious have never done it in sequence for a sufficiently long amount of time to get much muscle growth. And so if you train pretty hard for a week, then you take a week or two off. If you try a cool chest workout, then we don't see you in the gym for another few weeks. A surprising number of people that ask about advanced hypertrophy strategies will be in that demographic. And to me, it's just not serious, because even a decent plan will work pretty well if you just keep showing up.
No, it won't. You'll get the same outcome. If you keep following the same plan, you'll get the same outcome at zero, because the outcome in the beginning, it happened. It did happen in the beginning, for sure it did. But if you keep doing the same thing over again, you won't get a different result. You'll get nothing. It stopped, because everything stops working. Even when people run down the street, are like, I was losing weight, but I'm no longer losing weight running down the street. Why? Because it adapted. Your body adapts. It protects itself now from losing any more weight, because we need to carry you through a famine. You in the artificial world, you want to do things cosmetically in the artificial world. That's your problem. But in the natural world, your body still works the way it does in the natural world. So I'll explain to you about this muscle building stuff, the 1% that only knows it like me, the real 1%. So
According to NCBI, while concentric contractions initiate movements, eccentric contractions slow or stop them. A unique feature of eccentric exercise is that untrained subjects become stiff and sore the day afterwards because of damage to muscle fibers.
That's right. A unique feature of untrained muscles is they get damaged. All right. I'll show you what this looks like. So, it looks like this. So this is in nuclei overload precedes hypertrophy, not lost on detraining. So you see here, untrained, first training, satellite cell fusion. Notice it hypertrophied, right? Okay. You got some nuclei hypertrophied. Now notice on detraining, retraining, you're never getting it again. You want to know why you're never getting that again? Never. You're never getting anything there. Your body has now adapted. It is adapted by repairing and remodeling stronger, so it is now resilient from further assaults by your lifting weights in the gym. So it's not going to damage with a repeated bout. It's also protected from damage with a repeated bout. See that? So here's what happens. Now it's protected, and there's a bunch of other protections. So there's many protections going on here.
According to PubMed, the repeated bout effect refers to the adaptation whereby a single bout of eccentric exercise protects against muscle damage from subsequent eccentric bouts.
There you go. So there's no more muscle damage. There's no more damaged muscles. There's no more growth. It's ended. Plus, here's another thing. That hypertrophic process that you saw there in that map. So,
according to Singapore Medical Journal, we also proposed an MND ceiling size of approximately 31,000 cubed, which reflects the maximal transcriptional capacity of myonuclei. On the other hand, the type 1 fibers showed a greater reserve for synthetic capacity in hypertrophy.
yeah, I'm not saying that type 1 they can't do, there's something there. But it's mostly the type 2 that, man, that people are pushing. And they're highly glycolytic. Okay, that's another explanation. I'll explain later. To get this damage, the muscles have to be untrained doing that exercise. It has to be an exercise that the muscle is untrained doing to get that damage to come back. It's really simple. So there you go. It has a ceiling limit, muscles. They have a ceiling limit, a transcriptional capacity of myonuclei. And what is that exactly? I'll show you what that is. It's called nuclear domain size limit. You scroll down here, it tells you MND size has a ceiling limit during hypertrophic process beyond which extra myonuclei are donated by the satellite cell to support further muscle growth. So the satellite cell has to donate its nuclei, and the nuclei, they support growth because they synthesize protein. That's what they do. They synthesize. Without them, you can't synthesize protein. You can't support further muscle growth. See what I mean? You see the problems that you have? And then these guys come in the gym and then you're all coming in the gym and you're lifting weights. So you're getting a second adaptation. You're not adapting, the muscles are not adapting by growing anymore. Now you're growing, you're getting better at lifting weights. The myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength. See that? So you're increasing your lifts through androgen receptors, a chemical strength. But remember, this receptor does not control the mass of the limb muscles. So what controls the mass of the limb muscles? The myonuclei. All right, which control the hypertrophy and yada, yada, yada. I don't know what else I should say there. Yeah, hold on a second. I don't know why this is not coming up. Hold on. All right, whatever. Unaccustomed exercise is shown to result in temporary repairable skeletal muscle damage.
According to PubMed, unaccustomed exercise is exercise that has never been performed before or has not been performed previously at a certain intensity.
That's right. Unaccustomed exercise commonly leads to what? Acute skeletal muscle injury. And what activates the satellite cell injury? You understand me? That's what activates it. They even have your consequences of skeletal muscle injury induced by unaccustomed exercise. This is all good stuff, man. I gotta keep these things. That was stupid. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I don't know. It's not coming up on familiar forms, but whatever. You get the idea. So yeah, these two tell you here. Unaccustomed exercise, temporary, whatever. Eccentric only, manifestation. Muscle damage, inflammation after eccentric exercise, okay. Can repeat about effect. Damage, inflammation during recovery exercise. So that does muscle damage after exercise. EIMD arises. Frontiers. Yeah. I don't know why it didn't say unaccustomed, unfamiliar forms. I'm trying to wonder why it didn't say that here. Exercise-induced muscle damage and adaptation. That's the adaptation process. Unaccustomed exercise been shown to temporary exhaustive, whatever, and it adapts by repairing and remodeling a lot stronger. That's the adaptation process. Greater resistance to further assault. This is the one I was looking for. Yeah, I have to remember this, man. This is a good one. So when you're looking at this, when you read this one right here, exercise-induced muscle damage adaptation. So at the bottom, it will tell you these regenerated fibers. So now when you regenerated those fibers over there, remember in the beginning I showed you that map. These regenerated fibers, along with adaptations in the connective tissue, may provide greater resistance to what? Further assault. Get it? It's protected from further assault. How is it protected? Because it regenerated fibers. Get it? It's now it's stronger. You got stronger. Your muscles got stronger. But they're stronger from the weights. You understand me? They got stronger. They didn't... Listen. You get stronger on your lifts, but when the muscle gets bigger, it gets stronger from it gets resilient from further assaults getting muscle damage. Get it, bro? So yeah, I don't know what else to say on that one. That's fucking, man. That's so funny. Okay, I have to bring this up again for somebody, but anyways, that's why I took a picture of it. Yeah, it's protected from further assaults, bro. Get it? It's a whole bunch of things. There's the repeated bout effect. There's this. I love this one. Following a single bout of exercise performed 1 to 6 weeks after the first bout, this is a reduction in morphological alterations. There's no more alterations. And performance decrements and profoundly reduced elevation in plasma CK levels. Several hypotheses. Repeated bout effect, rapid training effect, blah, 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 blah. You're not getting damaged anymore.
According to NCBI, the evidence suggests therefore that an initial pulse of MGF expression following damage is what activates the satellite cells, and that this is followed by the later expression of IGF-IEA to maintain protein synthesis to complete the repair.
That's right. Complete the repair and the remodeling. That's how you build muscle damage. And if you're not getting those clinical signs, then you're not getting anything. So,
According to Physiopedia, resistance or workload exercise is known to activate and increase numbers of satellite cells, as well as promote myonuclear expansion and hypertrophy.
it does, but it has to be injured. Because how satellite cells respond to injury? Right here. Following acute muscle injury, satellite cells and muscle stem cells become activated. That's how they activate. Injury, get it? And they have clinical signs of this injury. Okay. Okay. Hold on a sec. I have to look at this up again.
According to NCBI, Following acute muscle injury, satellite cells, the muscle stem cells, become activated, proliferate and differentiate into myoblasts, which fuse to form new myofibers.
Yeah, that's basically what they do, but there are clinical signs.
According to NCBI, rhabdomyolysis is exhibited by a triad of symptoms including myalgia, weakness, and myoglobinuria, with an elevation in CK level being the most sensitive test for muscle injury-induced rhabdomyolysis.
That's what's protecting you. That's something else. You don't want to get rhabdo, that's for sure. People that go in 6 hours, like trying to break their body down for 6 hours straight, that's ridiculous. They're trying to force that domain at 6 hours training. Hold on.
According to ScienceDirect.com, following muscle injury, satellite cells are activated, move outside of the basal lamina, co-express PAX7 and MyoD, and differentiate into proliferating myoblasts that also
Okay, I can't remember to get the clinical signs of muscle damage to come up. I can bring. These would be the clinical signs right here when you get damage. Clinical signs include reduced force capacities, increased painful restriction of movement, stiffness, swelling, dysfunction of adjacent joints, okay? These are the clinical signs of muscle damage. All right, you can read it here, part 1 DOMS. It even tells you unfamiliar forms cause that damage. They never say trained muscles. You want to know what trained muscles get? Hold on a second. This is what trained muscles get. They get sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, largely attributed to sarcoplasmic. There isn't really anything going on there when a person is really trained, because you're adapted. I told you, further assaults and all that, whatever. It's adapted. Okay. What is sarcoplasmic hypertrophy?
According to According to Nuvo Vivo, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is a kind of artificial muscle growth wherein muscles increase its size visually by increasing the amount of fluid it can hold, but is not increasing the density of the muscle's fibers.
Okay, so that's what everybody's getting. Once it's adapted in the beginning and there's no more growth anymore, reached an MND size limit, this is the muscle growth that all of you are getting because it can build up a lot. Like it says here, it contains adenosine triphosphate, glycogen, creatine phosphate, and water during workout. More fluid moves into the muscles, provide energy. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy reduces increase in volume of the fluid. It can make muscles appear larger, but does not increase strength. It doesn't increase strength because it's liquid. It's fake muscles. It's artificial muscles. That's what steroid people get. All right, let's go back to the video. I don't want to stay here forever.
So that's a big one. Another one is an insufficient protein and calorie intake, and we'll loop those in.
Yeah, okay. During that hypertrophic process, well, protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown. But without nuclei, you cannot synthesize any more protein. Remember what it says. To further muscle growth, the satellite cell needs to donate its nuclei. But it's beyond where the satellite cell can now donate any more extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So no matter how much you eat, that's why people complain, I'm a hard gainer, I reach a genetic limit, and I have whatever, I don't know, whatever limit you hit there, some phony thing you make up. Your instincts are not lying.
To one, really. You don't take in enough protein, how the hell is your body supposed to grow your muscle? I don't know.
It would if you had protein and you ate sufficient if you had nuclei, listen, if you ate sufficient protein and you had enough nuclei to support further muscle growth, you don't need to lift weights. You would eat protein. When protein synthesis exceeds that breakdown, you would grow. You would know. If you're not growing, that means you don't have any more nuclei to support further muscle growth.
where that's supposed to come from. Bad news, your body doesn't either. And so it just
Why do you think Mike Israetel's taking steroids, all these fitness gurus and everything? It's all visual, bro, to get it, because nobody's growing muscles.
doesn't do it much. It's tough to watch people have super hard workouts and then go to Starbucks and
You basically have enslaved yourself to something that is elusive. There's nothing there. You can create artificial muscles, sarcoplasmic. You can how should I put it? You can do sarcoplasmic, these phony muscles, and take steroids and everything. You can eat potatoes, a lot of potatoes, and blow up your muscles, but you're never going to grow any more muscles.
have like a brownie and one of those like mocha chocolate.
And the only way to damage the muscle and get that domain to grow, the most important part is in the beginning. You can literally cut body parts up. Like, in other words, you could come in one time, focus on one muscle group and try to get that one to blow up the biggest in like muscle growth. So if you're untrained, you've never done your arms before, you come in the gym and you do your arms the first time, you do horrendous amount of exercises that first time on your arms, let's just say for an example, and then you go eat horrendous amounts of protein the entire week and you allow those muscles to grow. Well, how big will they get? I don't know. They'll reach a limit, but they'll get pretty big. See what I mean? But if you just came and you screwed around in the gym a couple of times, you might have gotten this damage. You might not have eaten enough or whatever, and you really didn't further that domain very much. Like I said, it happens. Remember, the most important time is when the muscle was untrained, and now it's being first trained. That's the maximum amount of growth you're going to get.
Yayas or
I
whatever.
think you mean dessert.
Yeah,
That's the classic boomer meme of people complaining about Starbucks coffee.
that's right.
Yes.
Yes, Starbucks.
Yeah, let me drink some toxic coffee and go and work out. Okay.
Cake in a cup. And then so you're like, oh man, like, sure hope you eat some protein along with that. For the calories part, there's always the...
So what does he show you? He shows you some fake plant protein waste products full of sugar. That's why they put sugar in them. That's why they put creatine in them too, because they want to make you happy, these people, to pretend that you're growing muscles, but they all know that muscles have an MND size limit.
Kid that asks you why he can't gain weight and he weighs 130. And the answer is almost always and almost everywhere you're not.
Oh, no. You can gain weight. You can gain as much weight as you want and get fat. Eat carbohydrates, eat these phony plant foods. That's what will build your artificial muscles. The plants, they're carbs. They will build your artificial muscles, sarcoplasmic.
Eating enough. And then they'll tell you, well, I'm eating 4,000 calories a day. And that's some combination of tracking error, outright
Calories
lie,
don't overcome that.
or tough. It's true. And now you have to eat 4,300 to gain.
Calories do not overcome the myonuclear domain size limit. You get it, man? It is beyond where it can donate any more exonuclei to that domain support for the muscle growth. What does Mike Israetel not understand? He says he's a doctor of science and all this. How come I can explain it to you and I know the science and everything, but he can't tell you any of that? Why can't he explain it to you how it really works?
So, not being consistent, not getting in enough protein and calories. If someone, say you catch me in an elevator, and I'm cock out, I'm doing a bicep, I'm doing it all, that's right, craft thing. If you catch me in an elevator and ask me about muscle growth tips and I'm in the right mood, because usually I just bullshit with people, not in a mean way, just joke with them until they're like, oh, there's a lot of jokes and I didn't learn anything. Fuck, that guy, also the jokes were terrible. I'll probably try to get to see if you're consistent and if you're consuming enough calories and protein to gain some weight over some weeks' time. If those two are in a yes, not with all details, but those two are so critical, no details you have before you accomplish those matter at all. Like, I don't give a shit what your weapon looks like if you don't have ammunition. It actually just doesn't matter. Your weapon is basically useless if you don't have ammo in it. And if you have the best written program, if you don't show up to do it, consistency, and if you don't feed your body to give it the raw materials to build stuff with it, it doesn't matter what your program is like. Another top why you're not building muscle thing that comes to mind.
You are far. You have left it all behind. You are on a beach, and you start to think that maybe what you've been searching for
Is overall stimulus, which can be measured by some combination of volume and frequency, because one can only make up for the other so much. So if you really want to drive a lot of hypertrophy to a specific muscle, something like...
When he says hypertrophy to a specific muscle, what kind? Sarcoplasmic? You can drive a lot of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy to a muscle. That's really easy because it doesn't have a domain limit, and neither do fat cells.
6 to 8 sets per week.
You can do as many sets as you want, providing you eat enough carbohydrates. The more carbohydrates, the bigger those sarcoplasmic muscles will get. That domain can fucking get massive, bro. And I mean massive. That's why steroid people, it's cosmetic. I try to explain this to you. You're just loading, it's just holding energy, preserving you because it thinks you're dying. You're going through a famine or something. That's when you inject steroids. It's just like people that are on starvation diets.
Consistently spread over at least 2 sessions. No more than necessarily 2 to 3. 2 to 4 is what I usually use. That's the beginning of the conversation for enough stimulus to cause lots of muscle growth consistently.
That's enough. Listen to what he says. That's enough stimulus. What was the stimulus that they mentioned in NCBI and all these things that I just showed you? Muscle injury. The muscles have to be injured. They have to be micro-injured. And then what does it go through? It goes through a repair and a remodeling, right? There's alterations in the muscle. And then when it does repair and remodel, you get these muscles. What do? They're resilient from further what? Resilient from further what? Assaults. Get it? Plus, there's the repeated bout effect. As soon as you come into the gym with a repeated bout, it already protects muscles from muscle damage. Plus, when it repairs and remodels at the end of the week, it builds these muscles by the end of the week. They are a lot resilient. They're stronger. They're resilient from further assaults. That makes it even harder to try to damage them, to damage. It's like a wall. You're trying to damage the weaker ones that are behind that wall. Boy, you can't get to them because it put up a front in the front. You understand me?
For people of a lot of experience ranges. But if you're getting a sum total of like...
That's why MyloWolf here, he's so skinny and weak. Look at him. He just looks like ordinary guy lifting weights. All these people in the gyms, they're all ordinary. And the only thing they got was sarcoplasmic because they're eating carbs all the time. These protein powders with sugars and carbs all day and then plants and shit, bro. And they're like, I have to go eat carbs. They're always eating rice and carbs. That is not muscle building food. That is fake building. That's building energy in your muscle. And then you go, look, I got big arms. You don't got big arms. You've got energy in your arms. Hello. It's like a camel. Did the camel get stronger because he filled up water in his humps and now they're standing up big and tall and hard? No, of course not. What the hell are you talking about? It's an energy source. Energy can be stored in your muscles in the form of glycogen, and energy is stored in the form of triglyceride in your fat cells. They are not conditioned to the myonuclear domain size limit. Muscles are. They are privy to whatever.
Your idea for tricep training is you do 2 sets of pushdowns at the end of a chest workout, and you do that once a week.
He's doing nothing here, wasting his time. Everybody is in a gym.
System. You might even be eating protein and calories. But you're training your triceps functionally once a week.
He pumped some glycogen. He came and pumped some glycogen in his muscles so that they can look pumped up, and some inflammation. Walking around with inflamed muscles and fucking putting carbohydrates in there, walking around pretending. This is cosmetic, bro. You understand me?
With tiny volumes, even if you count fractional sets.
And even if you did lift the heaviest weight in the gym, you were practicing all the time, you adapted to lifting heavy weights. You're like, well, I'm really strong. No, you're just really good at doing those things. You're not strong, because if you were strong, then you should be able to do the stuff that calisthenics people do now. Get it? Really, real strength means that you can do calisthenics, lifting, do this, do that, gymnastics, everything. You could do everything if you had more muscle, but you never built any muscle. You got better at lifting those weights, but you are not good at doing calisthenics or any other things, or handstands, walking around, or somersaulting, or whatever, because you never got stronger. You got better at lifting.
6 or 7, that's okay, but once a week, gee whiz. So 6 to 8 total sets per week is the beginning, the, the bottom end. 2 sessions a week for muscle is the bottom end. if you've traversed that whole spectrum, you may have taken some muscles into the 10 or so sets per session and 3 to 4 sessions per week range. Now, I'm not saying good things are going to happen if you do that, but you will find out very likely that you do have a maximum recoverable volume. And at least that can keep you asleep at night knowing there are 99 reasons why you're not jacked yet, but you not doing enough work is not one of them. So to me, it's a big deal. So when someone says, I really want to put on muscle, go, how many times a week do you train? If it's like a total of 2, if you're a beginner, if you're older, hey, rock on, it's going to work. But if you're muscle obsessed, like most of our viewers probably, which is a great thing, so are we, man, 4 sessions a week is kind of when I start noticing you exist. 4, 5, 6 sessions a week. 2, 3, or 4 times per week you're stimulating the same muscle with a minimum of...
Yeah, you're stimulating the muscle. You're stimulating. There's nothing to stimulate. You're turning over protein. You're breaking proteins and rebuilding them. You're breaking them down anyways all day long, breaking down, rebuilding them. You're just breaking them down a lot faster and then rebuilding them again. You have to go and eat. So you can actually shrink your muscles, because I heard some people, they come in the gym, they never eat enough or they eat slave food. And then they're like, hey, I actually got smaller. Yeah, you got smaller because you broke down more proteins. You're not getting any bigger. Man, you should see the failure in gym. I love that. I got to work to failure. You are failing. Yes, you are failing, all of you.
6 to 8 sets.
I know the truth really hurts people. When I bring out the truth, it really hurts people on my channel. They start bashing me and everything. They go nuts, bro. But it's not my fault. They've done tests on these things already. They know about it. That's why you can find it in science. It's not something that you can't figure out on your own. I figured it out on my own. You can figure it out on your own. Everybody can. If I did it, you could do it too. Get it, man? It's based on your experiences. Go in the gym and experiment and get experience. Get it? Don't be a loser, a follower. Be a leader. Don't be a follower. Be a leader.
Over the week, I guess 3 or 4 to 5 sets per session, 2 to 3 times a week.
That's not going to get you over MND size limit. He's lying. He's just making up stuff. He's a drug addict. He takes drugs. And he's got issues with these drugs. You can tell he's a drug addict because he's got all the clinical signs that show up. He's got all these problems. Even he's got problems with Greg Doucette and everybody, other influencers online. He's admitted to it. They keep telling you, he tells you everything that he's going through. It's madness, you understand me? Because it's drugs. And the look he's got is cosmetic. It's fake.
That's the beginning.
And as far as his strength that he has to lift something heavy, he didn't really have to practice at it. He injected it. See what I mean? The difference between you is you're going to have to practice at it. He injected it. Plant genetics.
And then you work up in sets from there over time, deload, repeat, so on and so forth. That's a lot of work.
That's not going to work. Deload and repeat. I just showed you what happens when you detrain and you retrain. There's no more hypertrophy in that map.
But like, it will stimulate your muscles adequately.
Yeah, it will stimulate them to open a window for protein synthesis, and then there's a window for protein breakdown. Now, in that session, you've broken down a lot of protein. If it doesn't exceed the breakdown, then you're going to start losing muscles. Get it? Yeah. So you're really going in, you're a laborer, like a guy in a factory. I'm lifting boxes, I broke down protein, and if I don't go home and eat enough, I may shrink. That's why some of them look skinny. They don't eat enough.
I've seen people who have programs which is like pull-ups and bent rows kind of 2 days a week, and then a set of like 2 or 3 sets of barbell curls. And
okay, those domains have ended in the beginning.
Like, I can't get my arms bigger. And it's like, my friend, if I showed you the top end of...
You can get your arms bigger. Sarcoplasmic. Eat a lot of carbs and they'll get bigger.
That range, you'd be like, what, 6 times the work I'm doing? Yes. Now, if you get to 3 times the work you're doing, you might find that you're getting ultra jacked. You've just never been that high in total exposure. Does that mean you have to train every muscle with that much frequency, etc.? No. But you at least the muscles you really want to grow. Like if you want chest and triceps to blow up over this next half year, we're talking 2 or 3 chest and tricep workouts per week. We're talking 8 to 10-ish sets per workout, per chest and tricep.
That's just exercising your body now. You're exercising it. You're accelerating aging, inflammation, and aging and inflammation. Like a factory worker, you're really comfortable now.
I'm counting fractional sets. that's where that conversation of like, okay, this is meat potatoes. Because if I know you're doing that, plus eating, plus all the other stuff I said earlier, if you say, man, I still can't grow my triceps, no, you got me befuddled. You got me curious. And so, do I have time for one more?
Of course, you have plenty of time.
My last one is kind of fucking lame. It's maybe not so helpful, but maybe a little bit helpful. In some sense, we've, a lot of us, been lied to. Not lied with a capital L, lied with a lowercase l. Someone misinterpreted some scriptures here and there and told us that, all men are created equal. And even though that is, I believe, in some official U.S. document, Constitution or Bill of Rights or some shit like that, what it's supposed to mean in context is that all people deserve equal, fair treatment under the law and an amount of decency from their fellow human that accepts them as human. And then above all else, all differences or whatever. That's what that's supposed to mean. It does not mean we are clones. It does not mean we have the same genetics. And dare I say, Milo, crazy as may sound, it doesn't mean that all of us can expect to have the same muscle growth as our favorite Instagram influencer who takes steroids all day, and he was already jacked in high school, and he lives in Dubai, and all he does is get jacked. And you're like, why can't I have arms like him? The input variable.
It's really simple because he's taking steroids, so the glycogen is loading in there. If you want to do it naturally, just eat bags and bags of potatoes, and that's what will load this glycogen, and you'll get these sarcoplasmic muscles. You'll get that domain to expand, and it can expand massively.
For the rest of your life are all fucking off anyway. But also, people have different genetics for things, and they're good at different things. And muscle building proclivity is highly, highly genetic. We know this for no
Absolutely not. It's not highly genetic. But you could say the amount of nuclei you get as opposed to your friend, I don't know. I can't tell you how many nuclei or muscle fibers in that one session you got when you first came in untrained in the gym. I can't tell you. Nobody can. So could that be genetic? Yeah, you could say that could be genetic. Maybe he got more damage, I got less or something or whatever. Or maybe he's got more muscle fibers than me, so when they damaged, there was more damage, there was more nuclei. Maybe I have less fibers than him. I'm a skinny little prick. I don't know. It's really difficult to say, okay?
difference at all, but direct studies.
But as far as sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is not based on genetics. So you can eat bags and bags of potato, go in the gym and lift and find out. Complex carbs are the best. I would recommend potatoes. They work better because rice is filled with arsenic. It's really bad for you. So your only second option would be potatoes. Eat them, eat bags of them, bowls and bowls of them, work out, experiment, and you'll find out how big your muscles will blow up.
There are numerous people.
You'll literally look like a guy on steroids if you eat potatoes. And I mean, like you just wolf down tons of potatoes. You'll further that domain. Artificially, you'll further it artificially, and you'll look as big as a guy on steroids walking in the gym, and everybody will be telling you that you're on steroids. Meanwhile, all you did was eat a 50-pound bag of potatoes every day or whatever, every week.
In every study of muscle growth that record close to zero or zero gains, real actual measured gains, some of them record negative gains. Maybe that's measurement error.
No. They get these gains. I told you. It's sarcoplasmic, bro. Got it? Look. I told you right here, remember? Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Look.
According to MyProtein Canada, what is sarcoplasmic hypertrophy? Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is when the volume of sarcoplasmic fluid in the muscle cells increases, resulting in increased overall muscle volume without a difference in strength or fiber size.
So you bring this part down. Does the sarcoplasm contain glycogen? Sarcoplasm is the cytoplasm of muscle cell. It is comparable to the cytoplasm of other cells, but it contains unusually large amounts of what? Glycogen, a polymer of glucose, globulin, and red-colored protein necessary for what? Binding oxygen molecules in the muscle fibers and mitochondria. So it holds a lot of them. How do you increase the sarcoplasm? The best way to grow your muscles, bodybuilding style strength training with high repetitions, moderate weight, will create a great degree of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Heavier weight and low rep strength training will create a greater degree of myofibrillar hypertrophy. Well, yeah, when they say myofibrillar hypertrophy, they're not talking, look, they're talking about sarcoplasmic. When they say lifting heavier and in a low rep range, well, yeah, man, if you were unaccustomed to doing that already in the beginning, that's where you get the myofibrillar hypertrophy. You get these nuclei, whatever, through that damage. But it holds a lot of sarcoplasmic. So that's what they're telling you there, man. I don't know. This is a good one, too. I like to keep this one. Sometimes I like these. What happens when glycogen is increased? Well, insulin like grow, glucose, does a bunch of stuff. Extra glucose will refill the glycogen stores. Your body can hold a lot of it. Your muscles will blow up through it. I can keep going on and on, but I'm not going to. It's artificial muscle growth, okay? Man, it's artificial because it's not based on myofibrillar. That's why it's artificial. Hold on. All right.
Sometimes it's not. And so if we can understand that there exist 22-year-old healthy males that reliably from a 12-week exercise program gain no muscle at all, we can surmise that if we really got Pac and Milo and Greg Knuckles and they really look at them, we might come out of that with another 12-week program that has triple the volume and double the protein or whatever it takes. And that person might gain 3 total pounds of whole body muscle from that. And after 3 weeks of training a little bit easier, they have involuted back to no muscle at all. Those are real people. There are millions of them. You're probably, Mr. Viewer, Mr. and Mrs. Viewer, you're probably not one of those people. Thank God. But we're all somewhere on that spectrum. And so one of the big downsides of here's why you're not gaining muscle. There's a lot of people that will ask me that. I look them up and down, and I'm like, dude, you're jacked. And they're like, no, I'm not. But you're a...
Yeah, they're jacked with glycogen in their muscle because they're eating... Everybody out there is... Come on, man. Everybody out there is eating carbohydrates. I don't know anybody that's like just eating meat and working out. There are very few people that are out there. And even those eating meat and working out, they're not bypassing myonuclear domain limit. You can tell they don't look like some IFBB pro guy on stage filled with glycogen in his muscles by, getting the hormones to retain this energy in the muscles so it can carry you through a famine because you're dying.
Actively jacked. And they're like, well, compared to you. And I'm like, do you know how long I've been taking drugs for? And also, I never got to be too handsome, too smart, too much head in my hair, or too tall. Definitely not too tall.
It's weird how long this is.
I was pretty gifted in
It's weird how long this video is going, man. When is this going to end?
muscle growth. I started training, and I just kept adding muscle, and I kept gaining weight, and I just kept getting muscle. I must have gained.
He just kept gaining weight, gaining muscle. He just kept gaining muscle. Watch him say, let's see what he says.
Like 40 pounds in my first 40 pounds of muscle in my first 4 years of lifting.
Give me a break. He gained 40 pounds of muscle in his first year of lifting. Bullshit. Doing what? Stimulating? He never even explained to you how he built all that muscle. And if you gain 40 pounds of muscle, 40 pounds of real muscle, all right, I'm not talking about even the sarcoplasmic, because usually sarcoplasmic is accompanied by it. But 40 pounds of muscle, man, you as a human being you hold 40% in muscle. 40%. A fucking ant is 75% muscle. It can lift 10 times its body weight because 75% muscle. It doesn't have to practice at it. If he gained 40 pounds of muscle, Jesus, he should technically be able to lift. He should be able to lift those weights without practicing in the gym even. The weights that he is lifting. What the fuck, man? He wouldn't have to keep lifting in the gym. What does he keep lifting for? To pump the glycogen in there. To maintain the phony sarcoplasmic muscles. That's why you lift. Look, if you actually built real muscle through a repair and remodeling, it doesn't require any maintenance. Your muscle that you have, that you're born with, doesn't require maintenance. Look at the people walking in the street. They maintaining it, lifting weights? What are they maintaining it with? Food. Well, food maintains your body, a consistent positive nitrogen balance being anabolic. You understand me? That's what's maintaining it. Of course, if you go into a concentration camp, you have low nitrogen balance. Of course, it's going to atrophy. It's going to shrink. But that doesn't mean the fibers themselves have disappeared beyond, they can't come back from the depths of death. They can still mass up.
And every year I gain a really similar amount of muscle. I watched my friends and my
He's lying. He gained sarcoplasmic muscle. That's what he gained.
people in gym class around me. I was the only person that really happened to. A couple other people weren't as dedicated as me. They got pretty good results, probably similar or slightly better genetics. But I went to high school, like 1,300 people. A lot of people really struggled to put on.
I just told you, reached the ceiling limit. How did he bypass it? How did he bypass it after the first time? It was untrained the first time, and it reached the ceiling limit. How did he bypass it? He never says how he bypassed it. He just keeps saying stimulate this and that. Just makes up a bunch of stuff. How did he bypass myonuclear domain limit?
Damn near anything. And
It's protected. It's protected from further assaults, like I read to you, resilient from further assaults. It's protected by repeated bout effect phenomena. It's protected by follistatin, myostatin, and the satellite cell as well, because the satellite cell is beyond where it can donate any more extra nuclei to that domain. The muscles are protected from any more damage due to repeated bout effect, and the muscles that it did grow, it repaired and remodeled a lot stronger, so it's resilient from further assaults. So, plus, follistatin, myostatin regulates that, and a bunch of stuff, bro. How did he get over it?
average person is going to put on some muscle, but it's not going to be some crazy shit. So I think a lot of that situation of, am I putting on the muscle? Look, reasons why you're not gaining muscle. You are gaining muscle. But as long as you have your big picture all set in, like I just talked about.
You are. When you eat carbs, you're gaining sarcoplasmic muscles. Jesus.
About that stuff, that may be about your best muscle gain rate for the time being. Now, when non-androgenic anabolics come out as medications in 2028 or whatever, we're all in there. Have a super fun time getting.
Look, you all want to know how much muscle you have? Just go off the carbohydrates. Eat a lot of meat products and water. Don't eat any carbs. And really, watch that energy source go away. Your muscles are gonna get dry. You're gonna look really dry, and you're gonna look really small.
Jacked at no expense. But until then, it's just a fucking reality thing, man. I have to say it somewhere. It sounds rude, it sounds mean, but it's just real. And I hate it when people who 5'9", 165, couple abs, couple veins, little bicep, looking fucking great. Bitches love it. But he's like, yeah, man, I just can't get big. Shut up, you are big. Yeah, but I'm not like an IFBB pro. Yeah, I know. But that road is a road you might not want to take if you found out how many fucking shit you have to how many swivels you have to drive around to get there.
That's a handicap. They're crippled, these people, blowing their muscles up with sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. They can barely move around. They're so weak. They have weak bodies. They took steroids to lift a heavy weight, but they have weak bodies. That's why they get injured all the time, a bunch of stuff.
And also, you just might not have the genetics for it, which is so totally okay, because you think about it, you don't have elite genetics for almost anything, except for maybe a few things. Do a lot of that, and if you're not unreal muscle gain genetics, understand that you're going at your own pace.
Holy shit, you're fighting an uphill battle. You're domesticating yourself, eating all these artificial foods in your candy bars at the corner store and your chips and everything else and your pizzas, pastas, and hamburgers in fast food restaurants and seed oils and everything. You're further domesticating yourself like crazy, and you're trying to go to a gym to do what? You understand me? To fight domestication? To fight domestication, you have to eat raw animal food, animal parts, animal meat, fish, a bunch of stuff, and you don't want to eat it raw because it's not for you. It's based on taste. You gotta eat things because they're tasty. You understand me?
Try to do a little better.
But your taste buds are so familiar with all these fake drugs and carbohydrates, drug addicted diet foods you're eating, that you can't fathom eating these raw animal products, because in your head you think they taste bad, but actually, in fact, they actually taste good.
Have the expectations set to beat last year's you, not to try to get to somewhere between last year's you and Jay Cutler in his prime.
I mean, they don't taste sweet like all the drugs you're eating right now. You're eating all these drugs. They don't taste as sweet as your drugs. but you know, they taste good because they don't have sugar in them. That's why you're like, they don't taste good because they don't have my drugs in there called sugar. Okay.
Always complaining about how exercise scientists will complicate everything.
Man, these guys are like doctors and scientists or whatever the hell they call themselves. Fucking, I know this stuff better than they do.
I think he just described about 80% or something of the inputs to the muscle hypertrophy response. They're actually within your control.
Sure.
Genetic?
No, you're not in control. You're not in control of any of that.
Not so much within your control.
Not yet.
Genetics, not so much in your control. Genetics is how you're born, how tall you get, how big you get, how many fibers you got. Yeah, your friend could be, I don't know, he could be 6'7" and you ended up being 5'5", and what? That's genetic, okay?
Not yet. And certainly, most of the people...
That has nothing to do with muscle growth. Again, everybody grows the same way. Untrained muscles, first training satellite cell fusion, then it reached an MND size limit.
that I've seen complain about their muscle growth response, if they have those 80-90% taken care of, it mostly does come down to just genetics and having the right expectations.
Yes.
For many people, they have an inflated expectation of what they might achieve over 12 weeks, a year, what have you.
Sometimes we call those
They have inflated expectations. Yeah, sarcoplasmic. Okay.
hopes. But hopes don't pay the bills, you know?
Correct. The good thing is, the people who don't see good results typically don't stick around the gym that much. Like, that is...
Sure.
They don't. No, the ones that don't stick around the gym get the best results because they become unaccustomed to doing these exercises. You get it? Then they come back and they're able to overcome it. Yeah, it's a trick. I can't explain it to you. I can actually I could tell you how to get over MND size limit. There are ways to get. I could explain it in this video, but I'm not going to. There's a way to get over MND size limit. All right. Plus, there's also a drug on the market. It's over the counter. You could buy it in some foreign countries, not North America, though they won't give it to you without a prescription. But it is not a steroid, and it has no side effects. And it too, in conjunction with doing specific exercises, which I could tell you to go over MND size limit, and in conjunction with that drug, can really push that domain. Yeah, but I'm not going to explain it in this video. Why should I?
Genuine it is. Like, I think that part of the reason why people have unrealistic expectations is obviously, like, on Instagram you see the freaks.
Look, it's almost like I learned in the past. I had friends, they were on steroids back then in the 80s, 90s. People were taking steroids. There was a gym I was going to. They were all on steroids. And, you know, we read magazines and stuff. We talked to each other. And I understood the stacks that they were doing. They were stacking steroids and doing specific things. One drug that they were taking, a very specific drug that they were using, which does not have side effects. It's very specific to widen the androgen receptors. So they wanted to widen. Yeah, lifting weights will widen the androgen receptors, but they used a specific drug to widen the androgen receptor so that when they were stacking these hormones, that the receptor would grab more of the hormones. Okay, so what happens when steroids stop working? They've adapted. How do they adapt? It's easy. Your body's protecting itself from these hormones being absorbed through the androgen receptor. So it's narrowing the receptor, preventing it from coming in. So what do? They take higher doses of steroids to kind of force it to go through the receptor. But they would take a drug, a very specific drug, to force the receptor now to widen and then accommodate the hormones. So in fact, you don't have to take higher doses of steroids. What these bodybuilders did was this. They stayed with low doses, but they used a very specific drug to widen the receptor, get it? To force it to open up again. And so you don't have to take higher doses. That's why you don't really, if you don't understand this science, then you would never understand. That's why you keep thinking that these bodybuilders are on high doses of steroids. They took high doses. Definitely the stupid ones, they had to keep taking higher doses and they killed themselves because they don't know about this drug that widens the androgen receptor. You understand me? Yeah. So you can stay on low dosages and it'll keep working. The body will be unadapted. You keep unadapting it by forcing it to open its receptor.
But partly it's also the people who keep training.
Yes.
You end up seeing in the gyms.
Gym people.
Media. They actually grow well, and that's what kept them in the gym.
Survivorship bias.
Correct.
They grew well, kept them in the gym because they ate carbohydrates, okay, and blew up.
Mike, you crushed it.
What was that guy? I forget his name. There's a channel, The Bubble. He called it the Bubble Method. I used to make fun of it on my old channel. I did a video on it. I made a funny thing about it, a joke about it.
We can people find you.
RP Strength on YouTube. Start your journey there and end your journey by giving me money for our various suite of digital products.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, man. That was really hard watching that. I'll see you in the next one. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. See you in the next one. A lot of phony information. These guys are really they lack experience in a lot of stuff. So does Israel. I'm surprised about Israel, how much knowledge he lacks, but whatever.